Still Untitled is brought to you by Udemy, the largest marketplace for online learning. Whether you're looking to learn something new or just sharpen your skills, Udemy has over 65,000 courses starting at just $11.99. Students around the world choose Udemy to discover new passions, expand their skills, and even change careers. Visit ude.my/untitled or download the Udemy app to learn anytime, anywhere. Now on with the show.
Welcome to Still Untitled, the Adam Savage Project. I'm Will.
I'm Adam.
And I'm Norm.
Hey, everybody.
Hey,
It's been a minute.
It's been a minute. I'm sorry.
No.
My schedule is the driving factor to a lot of this.
No, it's not, Adam,
It's
because we've had episodes because we banked a bunch at Silicon Valley Comic-Con.
Oh, wow.
know.
I didn't even realize. I thought it's been a while. I was waiting for people to get mad.
No.
Oh.
I'd be happy to come down for that next year. I've always wanted to go to Silicon Valley Comic Con, but I just need an excuse to come down.
Okay,
so.
next year you have an excuse because, frankly, it's awesome. And, I'm still a little starstruck over having gotten to converse with Evan Narcisse for a full hour about Black Panther and writing for a franchise you love and going from being a critic to an author and all. Sorry, I know you guys just listened to that in the last couple of weeks, but that was one of my favorite interviews we've done in a while.
It's a good show. I mean, everything that comes out of SVCC is usually really good, but that one was notable, so it was very cool.
How's everyone doing?
Fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, we've been doing great.
My favorite, I wanted to say, I don't know if I said this before, but my favorite star sighting at SVCC was David Tennant.
Really?
I sat next to him at the lunch table in the green room, and we spoke for about 20 minutes. He's a delightful man. I know he's working on a show that a friend of mine is producing right now, and he just finished working on a bunch of stuff with Neil Gaiman. From everybody I know that has worked with him, there is nobody who works harder and is nicer. And in person, I just loved him. And because my wife watched Broadchurch religiously, for those of you who have watched Broadchurch, it was hard for me not to just go Miller like that, as he famously says in the.
Yeah.
Anyway, SVCC was great. I'm glad we had some continuity. I didn't realize that I'm an idiot.
We planned for it.
Norm was planning ahead.
But we are in real time right now.
Yeah.
We are in real time
things
right now,
are happening.
and real things are happening. Yeah. So we're recording this on Monday. This goes up on Tuesday. This morning, our great and good friend and tested contributor and all-around genius, Simone Yach, released a video on YouTube about having the fact that she has a brain tumor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, if that's news you're just hearing for the first time, know that it is most likely benign. The prognosis is excellent. She feels positive about it. It is a very intense thing. As she says, plot twist.
Yeah. Well, you should stop this and go watch her video right now on her channel. I would say 'cause she explains it better than we're going to.
She really does. And I'm really impressed that she released the video to talk to her fans. And she really, that's the reason that she did it. And she states that outright.
Mm-hmm. In the weird, her life being what's been for the past 2 years and the whirlwind that it has, I think it would be weird for not to do it, but it's also so incredibly brave to put yourself out there.
It is incredible. And, she mentions in her video that her TED Talk's going live in a couple of weeks. And I was lucky enough to be there and watch her do it. And we haven't done the podcast since then. The thing that was beautiful and amazing about Simone's TED Talk that I saw was she brought all of her confidence and vulnerability to the act of giving that talk. And she does it's what Simone does so well. It's like seeing everything you think is awesome about a person brought extant out of their work.
That's the thing that struck me the first time I saw her YouTube channel. When I think the first thing I saw was probably the robot where the wake up robot where she got her hair tangled in the in the motor.
That hurts every time I see that.
And I was like the incredible, who posts this? It's such a good video. And we would have had an extended conversation about whether we should post that. And she just put it out there. It's like, hey, let it rip. This is funny and it's good. And she owned it. And, she said in her video this morning that she really loves her brain. I think a lot of us do. I think we all, she's got a good brain.
Yeah.
I'm glad that she's where she's going to get good care taken of it. And
she has an amazing group of support around her. And, she is she's really, I'm not articulate about this. I'm still like, as we watched the video this morning, my mom and my wife and my friend, we all were passing around a box of Kleenex because it's an intense thing to go to see your friend go through.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But all of our support is for Simone, and your good wishes are appreciated.
Tumor humor. She's looking for tumor humor.
Hashtag tumor humor.
Hashtag
I hope we've all worked to get tumor humor trending.
Anytime someone says tumor, I always go, "It's not a tumor," which is from Kindergarten Cop, if I'm not correct.
Yeah, Kindergarten Cop.
Kindergarten Cop. Maybe it's a tumor. It's not a tumor. Get to the chopper.
But yeah, check the video on her channel. Check her Patreon page. She posted an update for Patreon backers that said a lot of the same stuff that was in the thing. But yeah, I mean, we hope that Simone's surgery goes well and she gets better soon.
She is also young, it's excellent to catch this sort of thing early rather than late. It seems to be a very slow growing tumor. All of this is like, there's many things about this that are on the side of good. And she's young and strong and healthy, and that is awesome.
And hopefully good at following doctor's instructions.
I believe she will be. Okay. And she's one of the best cities on the planet to get operated on, right?
Yeah, you don't go to the local regional medical center for brain surgery. You go to Baltimore or Dallas or Houston or San Francisco.
Indeed, and she's already working up designs for eye patches in case her eye doesn't work when she wakes up.
Yeah. Perfect.
I totally appreciate that.
Look, you got to have contingencies planned.
No, I met two different people with prosthetic feet at TED. Famously Olympian Amy Mullins was there. And, all I want to do is design feet for people who have prosthetic feet.
Oh, there's a whole community for that. There's maker communities that build
3D printed,
low
I've
cost,
been following
home.
this a lot. And I really dig it.
Yeah. One of my parents' friends has a prosthetic arm, and she doesn't like to wear it because it's uncomfortable and it sucks. And I see the new things that are coming out now. And yeah,
well,
cool.
I was lucky enough to spend I don't know if I mentioned this on the podcast, but a year ago I was lucky enough to spend a full day at Walter Reed Hospital, specifically in their prosthetics department, and seeing how they mix the old and the new technology, really old technology.
Yeah.
Because there's some things that for the fitting and the customization and the comfort have to be just completely done by hand, and other things where they're using the latest technology. It's really cool.
So you have some news as well,
yes,
I believe.
Yes. We announced this at Silicon Valley Comic-Con, but I have signed on to go back to television. Dun, dun, dun. It's been 2.5 years since I've been in television production.
Wow.
To host and produce Mythbusters Jr., a Mythbusters spin-off show starring 6 amazing science kids.
Cool.
And me. And we will be busting myths, and I'm right back in.
You're putting all these kids into some sort of arena, and then at the end of the day, one kid will
6 kids
remain.
Enter, 1 kid leave. No, it's not a competition show. We're not eliminating them. No, my North Star for this are things like the Great British Bake Off and Top Chef Jr., Master Chef Jr.
They eliminate people from Master Chef Jr.
Yeah, we're not eliminating people.
Good.
We are celebrating collaboration, cooperation, methodological rigor, fun entertainment, color, explanation.
Awesome.
I literally spent all day today in a production meeting, and it's so exciting. Brought back a huge portion of the original Mythbusters crew. We are filming it. We're filming it at the old Industrial Light and Magic Model Shop where I worked 20 years ago.
Oh, that's right.
So cool.
Worlds are colliding.
Wow. Oh, that's wonderful.
It's great. We're in pre-production right now. We're going to start shooting quite soon, and you should see episodes of this before the end of the year. Obviously, we will keep you deeply posted and tested. We'll go and visit the set and give you some insider dirt on how that's going and how we're doing it.
Very cool.
Yeah, it's super exciting.
I mean, it's the DNA of something that you were intimately familiar with for 15 years, and yet a format that's not the same.
Not the same, and I get to look at it from a different vantage point. I get to use this expertise I got in a different way, in a similar way but different. And frankly, I've been in San Francisco now for almost 30 years, and it feels like there are chunks of the entire arc of my 3 decades here that are coming into play in this. People that I've worked with, places that I've worked, resources that I'm going to count on, and that's really exciting.
Very, very cool.
all led
I
to
can't wait
this.
to see it. Yeah.
It's all led to this.
It has all led to this. So I will say that the announcement for this went on at the Upfronts in New York, and I got to spend a couple of days with all of the legacy Discovery and Scripps talent. You might not know that Discovery recently bought the Scripps network, so they now have 18 different channels in the Discovery family. I saw my old friend Alton Brown, my old friends the Tuttles from American Chopper, Cash Cab. I hung out with Valerie Bertinelli because she's on Scripps. She was amazing. Martha Stewart was there. All the captains, Keith, Sig from Deadliest Catch.
Oh, right.
I
What a
mean,
room.
it was amazing room, and more than that, it was hilarious to realize as I was like sort of working around the room and talking to people. Oh my gosh, I'm like an elder statesman here. I'm not the oldest guy in the room, and I'm not the longest term bit of Discovery talent, but I'm up there.
Yeah,
you're
selling the newbies
Yeah,
tickets to the
man.
fifth floor pool.
You're definitely not the new school.
No, I'm definitely not the new
Maybe not the
school.
old school, but yeah, that's awesome, Adam.
It was a really fun trip.
Wow.
So yes, it has all led to this because apparently a little movie just came out.
Yes.
The blockers thing. There's a chicken, and then there's blockers after. I don't know what that's supposed to mean.
Yeah,
No, you're talking about the most ambitious crossover of all time.
yes.
Yes. Norm's dying.
We're
over
talking
here.
about. Let's talk about Avengers: Infinity War. It's one of the
Yeah.
rare
No, I was
occasions.
going to talk about the Deadpool trailer.
Oh, yes.
I didn't get the
It's all the same.
Deadpool trailer before mine.
Oh, it's great. Here's one of the lines when Cable is like taunting Deadpool. Deadpool goes, "Ooh, dark. Are you sure you're not from the DC universe?"
Oh, that's
Deep cut.
for
burn.
on a weekend that the new Marvel movie outgrossed the big crossover DC movie
The
in
Marvel
3
movie
days.
outgrossed the entirety of
Justice
League's
run.
Justice League's run in 3 days.
Yeah.
So this is an interesting
That's gotta
spoiler cast
sting.
because the movie made $258 million over the 3.5 day weekend, which at an average ticket price of about $9. That's over 25 million people in the U.S. who saw that, which is like,
It's like-
close to a tenth of the
like 8%,
population.
yeah.
Which for our audience, that's probably all of you.
So you guys have all seen it. Yeah, that's what Norm's saying.
I would
My
like
point
all
is
the people
that,
who
like-
saw it twice this week to raise their hands. Norm,
I didn't make it twice.
I actually went.
See my phone tomorrow morning.
Yeah, so we'll do what we typically do, in like
We're gonna creep up on the
for
spoiler
those of you
aspect.
who have not seen it. We're gonna creep up on it by talking about our experiences of watching it.
Right.
You, Adam, saw it Thursday night at I would say a special showing because you watched it with probably the biggest Thanos fan in existence.
Unbelievable
Our-
how big a Thanos fan Kishore Hari actually is.
I've gotten my friend Mike is a huge Thanos fan too, and I didn't realize that there were Thanos fans before I had a conversation. He's like, yeah, he's kind of got an interesting world.
So let's set it up for us, Adam. What was it like watching the movie with Kishore?
Kishore is delightful to watch with. Kishore, as a good dyed-in-the-wool nerd, geek, and fan, got almost uncontrollably excited. You know, there's a little bit of a hum in Kishore's frame leading up to the film.
I can see that.
He showed me the Thanos figure that he's had for decades. He brought it with him, and it sat on our. So we went to the Alamo Draft House here, a few blocks away in the Mission, and we enjoyed. I enjoyed a grilled cheese sandwich, and a milkshake while I watched this wonderful
Was it
movie.
like Thor's grilled cheese sandwich or a Black
They did
Widow
have some- they had
spider
some-
venom blue
Yeah,
cheese
it's called
sandwich?
Red Craw. That's
Yeah.
the name
Okay,
of my
okay.
sandwich.
Yeah.
That's good.
It was forged by a giant.
Ooh.
Anyway, so Kishore was delightful. Also, he's laughing at every single inside baseball Easter egg there is.
Okay.
And I'm at sea when it comes to the level of depth to which he knows this plot. And
You
this
also went in
character.
cold.
This was one of the very first times I was able, and I know Joey has been doing. Joey Family
Doesn't watch trailers.
Doesn't watch trailers.
Like 8 years now, probably.
And I have stopped watching trailers because at some point last year I was really excited about a movie and I'd watched all the trailers and the movie was such a piece of shit and I can't even remember what it was. I've rejected it out of my brain that I've stopped watching trailers for movies I'm excited about, and I literally had seen nothing about Infinity War.
Wow.
So I've been doing I'm not as like Joey. If you go see a movie with Joey, he puts his head down and covers his ears during the trailers before the movie. I don't go to that quite that far, but I came in cold to this as well. And if I see a trailer in the theater, that's great. Otherwise, I kind of just don't seek them out. And I was really pleased. It was a good experience.
Rating out of 10.
Yeah, I don't know, like 8.5, 9.
Yeah, I'd put it up there.
Yeah, 8 out of 10. I'd say.
have to see it again.
Yeah, I can never say 10 off the bat.
Yeah.
I mean, look, I can sometimes. I remember leaving Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
Oh yeah.
And calling my buddy Davey, and he's like, what did you think? And I was like, oh man, one of my top 10 just got bumped. Gina
and I literally left the IMAX for that and turned around and went and bought tickets and went back and watched it again.
So I really enjoyed the spit out of watching this movie, like sitting through it as a viewer. Holy hell, it does not let up. It is a rare case where it really is significant that you know what has gone before it.
Yeah, and I think
a lot of big franchise movies really try and stand alone, and it's often one of the difficulties with their plots is that there's all this like people explaining shit that you should already know in the film, and the expositional requirements of releasing a tentpole film that newbies can go to are often as onerous as they can be. This movie does not waste much time with any of that.
It gets you right into it.
The 18th Marvel movie?
18th Marvel movie
after 10 years.
Since Iron Man.
Since either Iron Man or Hulk.
And they technically count Incredible Hulk, which was Universal Studios. That was the one with Edward Norton. That's the same
count
Hulk.
that?
They do, because it's the same Thunderbolt Ross. But that was not Marvel Studios. Marvel Studios started with 2008 Iron Man 1.
So
I will, before we jump on that, I'll also say, for those of you who don't know, Kishore, who watched it with Adam at a 7 p.m. showing, stuck around and watched it immediately after at the 10:45. That was the one I was at.
The next morning he went the next day he went to a 3 o'clock as well.
Really?
Yeah.
And then
he's enjoying his time off.
One bit of advice, though, for people who may not have seen it yet, if you're deciding on the format, this one is a movie that's, I think, worth seeing in IMAX, and I would even dare say 3D, because it's the first studio film that's shot entirely in IMAX cameras.
Oh.
But the 3D is still post, right?
3D is still post, correct.
I found the 3D not bad. I didn't find it incredibly necessary, but I never do. And it's real 3D, so I didn't find it quite as onerous on my eyes and the dimness.
Yeah. So the IMAX showing will have additional content above and below what you'd see in the 21 by 9 frame.
See, I was thinking about. Gina hasn't been yet, so I was thinking about taking her to see the Dolby at the Metreon.
I'm sure that'd be just as good.
Which we saw, I think, Last Jedi there, and it was the best theater experience I think I've ever had. I saw a 2D screening, thought it was fine. I thought it was good.
I always prefer those.
D-Box also. I paid for D-Box.
What's D-Box?
D-Box is the seats that move. I could get reserved seats that way, and I couldn't in the theater at the time. I
could only watch. It's the only way to watch The Tingler.
Look, the Fast and the Furious movies, highly recommended in D-Box. I know you're not a fan. D-Box, I could take or leave D-Box on this one.
All right, back on track. Are we going past into spoiler territory now?
Before we get to spoilers, I would like to talk about a couple of things that are not spoilerific.
Okay.
I'd like to talk about Josh Brolin's performance as Thanos, which I was blown away by. I mean, I did see a section of one of the trailers of a close-up of Thanos' face on a television somewhere in a bar, and I was like, I wonder how that's going to go.
It's a tough character.
Big purple face with, as someone in the movie says, a nutsack of a chin.
Right, he looks like a scrotum.
Yeah. I just wasn't sure how I was going to take it, and I will say, we were lucky enough to enjoy War for Planet of the Apes last year with Andy Serkis and all of those incredible performers, incredible motion capture performances. And Josh Brolin's performance as Thanos is one that belongs in that canon. It has so much subtlety and depth to it. You feel you get to see so much more of that character.
So again, not going to spoilers, the Thanos character first appeared at the end of Avengers, and that was before they cast Josh Brolin. So they had a CG face already for that, and they had to kind of meld that with their interpretation of Josh Brolin as Thanos.
And they did that over a few movies, right?
He had appeared, I think by the time he was in Guardians, it was already him. But Thanos, as you see in the comics and as you see in the early films, has this armor all around him. And it's not a spoiler to say that they were so confident in his performance that he didn't need the armor to hide any of it. They put him bare.
Brolin is an incredible actor. Brolin is, so we saw the trailer for Deadpool 2, in which he plays a different Marvel villain named Cable. And again, go watch Sicario. He's a terrifying villain no matter how you ask for his villainy to be delivered.
He would have been such a great Batman.
So,
oh my God, was he considered at one point?
Really?
In my head.
In Norm's film studio in his head.
Yeah.
So the big. Usually I see a movie, like I watched Blade Runner, which was a fantastic film last year, and I kind of was able to take in plot and set design and props and characters and the whole thing all in one pass. And this movie was just so relentless and overwhelming without being tiring.
I agree.
That I kind of feel like I need to go back and watch it at least once more, maybe more than that, to kind of be able to pay attention to costumes and stuff. Because I like a lot of the costume design obviously builds on the work from the previous 17 movies in the franchise. Yeah. There were no obvious CG. Like if you think about Ultron, that opening sequence was really spectacularly bad CG. The one where they're attacking the castle and taking out the last Hydra.
There's several shots in that. They're like,
just God, why'd you do this? Yeah. There were no obvious flaws here. I mean, there was one place that kind of the pacing and thematic elements weren't great, but the rest of it was really good, I thought.
I would go so far to say that, like in the first Avengers movie, which was built up with 2 Iron Man films, a Thor film, and a Captain America film, there are many different styles and tones that different directors had put on those films, kind of brought on Thor and Jon Favreau and Iron Man 2, that Joss Whedon had to meld together with either audio cues or visual elements that still made it a cohesive film. Age of Ultron didn't have to do that, and this is the first film, because of so many new characters that never met each other and never been in the same film before, the Russo brothers had to do that, and I think they still retained a lot of like the tone and the humor and the visual styles of different directors in one cohesive story, and that's an accomplishment.
There's a wonderful thing that they do across all of the Marvel films where 2 characters meet each other, and you've known the characters for years at this point. So I want to say at one point it's what's her name who played Robin on How I Met Your Mother? She's she's
Colby Smulders.
Right, Colby Smulders. She has a moment where she meets somebody. She's like, you get in the it's when she meets Sam in Winter Soldier, the Falcon.
Right.
She meets him. She's like, who the hell is this? And I saw that. I was like, oh, right. They do this a lot. This is there's a supercut of superheroes meeting other superheroes.
Well, in this movie, it's got like at least 10 of those moments.
So I like that, but I would also say it's a little bit of a crutch, right? I mean, it's fine. I mean, I enjoy it, but it's a thing that the directors and the writers know they have in their arsenal to say, the instant, easy win, easy laugh, easy satisfaction.
This isn't too much of a spoiler because you know that they all end up meeting each other at some point. But there's a point in which one of the characters says to another, wait, you know Thor? And for me, the point of that is, maybe shit is not as bad as I thought it was if I'm traveling in a group where these connections have already been made. Like, I felt a little more cradled by positivity at that moment. You know what I mean?
In the same way, I mean,
it's a big universe, but it turns out there's only a few important players.
They learned it from the comic books.
Yeah.
It's the very same thing that happens. And, I mean, a lot of what you're paying for is the convergence of... And it's a testament that you love Guardians for a different reason than you love Thor, and for a different reason than you love Winter Soldier. And the fact that they can share the same screen time... that is something that only like Marvel can do.
And that's the good, that's a lot of what's good about these big mashup movies, right? Is when you see, it started with The Incredibles for me, really. When the 2 kids realize that they can make the force field hamster ball in The Incredibles and go super fast and get away, and they're stronger together. It happened again in The Avengers when Thor and Captain America and Iron Man are fighting, and Thor whacks Captain America's shield and the forest levels, and Captain America gets laser beamed, but like it's such an amazing moment, and they do it so well in this movie all the way through. Like I just had the feels all the way through this film, and I wasn't expecting it.
Let's talk spoilers.
Let's do it.
Okay,
Okay.
so
All right.
we're now waiving. If you don't want this movie spoiled, and you really shouldn't let it get spoiled for you, you should go in cold.
It's a
You know,
plotty movie.
on our other podcast, we have an LED light that we switch on.
Oh,
You have
really?
a spoiler lamp.
Yeah, spoiler lamp.
Well, I could make a spoiler lamp.
Yeah, I mean that's like 10 minutes.
I could walk over and get your goddamn spoiler lamp. Don't brag about your
Why are you
spoiler
holding
lamp,
stuff
Norm.
back over here, Norm?
Trying to get Adam to make one.
I could make one.
Spoilers. We are in that territory.
We are in this territory. Holy hell was the ending of... I really have to go right to the ending.
Yeah.
I was so not ready for the entire film to be a cliffhanger of...
Oh, really?
I really didn't... I had no idea. I had no idea what I was
They originally
getting
signed
into.
on to make 2 Infinity War movies.
I had no idea.
Oh.
I didn't even know about that.
I would say most of people going probably didn't know.
Oh, I assumed everybody was dead.
No.
I assumed that this was the last Marvel Cinematic Universe
had
movie
no
that they were
idea.
killing off everybody at the end of it, and it'd be like just Black Widow and the Hulk hanging
No,
out
there
in
was...
the Quinjet.
It hit the first credit, smashed to black in the first credit, and I went... What? And Kishore was there taking off his 3D glasses, and he went, "Yep."
So,
Like, great. So I completely agree. And if you in the second showing we went to, the IMAX showing, like the audible gasp you hear in the room, that's what they were.
that was
going
amazing.
for.
That was so
Like
good.
the first person who disappears is Bucky, and when he disappears, like people. And then you realize it would be more and more
You're like half.
and more
There's half.
and
it's
more.
even more than half.
Well,
It
but-
feels...
Yeah, it is. And with Iron Man on Titan, it's like 5 out of 7. You know, he's
Right.
left there with Mantis, and
That's
it.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's entire Guardians. And what's interesting,
Well, and Rocket survives.
yes, but what Rocket is on Earth.
He's on Earth. Yeah.
But what's interesting is the trailers. So the things that you didn't get, Adam, from
Yeah.
watching trailers, is so many of the trailers led you to believe that it would be either Captain America or Iron Man who'd be giving the sacrifice.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, where people are like, "Oh, that's it for
there's-
Iron
there's
Man.
still
That's
time."
it for right." Where it's a 1-2 punch is the way I describe it. The one punch is at the end of this movie, everyone you didn't expect.
Right.
Spider-Man, that
Yeah.
heartfelt. What's going on?
All the
Mr.
guys
Stark?
with new movie deals.
I'm hurting.
Right? Black Panther has a movie deal. Dead.
And then
Spider-Man
and then
movie deal.
The second
Dead.
punch, and who's left is the original Avengers.
Yeah.
It's Iron Man, Captain America, Hulk, Black Widow,
Presumably Hawkeye.
and presumably Hawkeye.
Where was Hawkeye? I missed Hawkeye.
He's on house arrest.
I
House
wanted.
arrest.
Can I go visit? Listen, between the next 2 movies, can I go stay a couple of weekends at Hawkeye's house?
Seems really nice.
First of all, I want Linda Cardellini, who plays Hawkeye's wife, who was the best thing on Mad Men in that second to last season. I'd like her to be one of my best friends. I just think she's totally awesome, and I think Hawkeye would also be an awesome friend. I just think it would be great to hang out
And
with.
he's a tractor you can fix.
So
you got
and
that
I
going
could,
for you.
Yeah, totally.
Yes. Hello, dear.
I-
So I think the next movie it's going to be the second punch where they're going to flip it. And
Yeah, that's the thing.
You will
That's your
have
theory?
the Captain America dying or Tony Stark
Oh, dude,
dying.
I think they're all going to have to go outside time to
Yeah.
reset the timeline, and they'll end up trapped outside the universe.
Yeah. So I found that really intense.
Now, you didn't have the Max Landis, death is not real in comics feel where like, okay, now
No,
that like
I did.
8 people
Oh,
have died,
no.
there that means it's not
Actually,
real.
I will tell you, I didn't really take any of the deaths on the chin. Not even Loki's. And
Loki's was the hard. Loki's and
Loki's,
Gamora's were
I-
both rough. I
Loki and Idris Elba with
Yeah,
Heimdall.
yeah.
Like I thought Loki's death was legit.
Loki's death was. See,
I was
Vision.
expecting them to come out of the
I
gate.
felt the Vision was the toughest
Oh my
one for
God.
me.
Really?
Vision was
He died
really,
twice.
really rough.
His
did
his
die
his,
twice.
his beloved killed him, and then he was brought back to have his stone torn out of his head. And when he turned to black and white,
Yeah,
and his
the black
eyes
and
went
white was-
blank. That was unnerving.
Yeah. And Vision and the Scarlet Witch are, so I did go back and watch Civil War.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't watch Age of Ultron. I watched Winter Soldier again, and I watched a bunch of the Avengers.
Did you watch Thor?
No.
Oh God, the last Thor movie is
Oh,
so good.
Ragnarok
Yeah,
I saw
Ragnarok.
3 times.
Okay,
No,
yeah.
Ragnarok I saw 3
It's
times.
so funny. Now you realize that they let Taika Waititi do whatever he wants because didn't matter. They were going to kill them all in the first 5 minutes of this film.
That was really intense, and I thought the opening of that film, just opening on that destruction, was super intense.
And the Thanos is for the children of Thanos.
Yeah.
What's that?
The children of Thanos.
His
Ebony
four-
Maw, the four.
Terrifying. And also, actually, they were really scary villains. I enjoyed how scary and awful.
So
they were.
that like of all the Marvel movies, with the exception of maybe the ones that the ones where Loki was the villain, strong villain, all the rest of the Marvel movies have kind of shitty villains.
Yeah, they had a Loki problem.
Yeah, and this is the first time. Not only did they have one good villain, they had 5 really strong villains.
5 good
here.
villains and 5 great non-human facial
Designs.
structures.
Oh.
I mean, just
Ebony Maw with his preaching.
Yeah.
That
Is he the
tone
magic
quality.
one?
He's the magic one.
Okay.
The tone quality. The woman one was played by Carrie Coon.
She had the
From The
horns with
Leftovers?
the blue.
Oh, okay.
Nora
makeup,
from
yeah.
Leftovers, who's amazing.
She's incredible.
And then there were 2 other. Terry Notary did the giant hulking one.
Okay.
Oh, the fact that they got the Hulk fight out of the way in the beginning.
That was one thing that I kept on being disappointed in. Like, come on, Hulk! I was like, scream! I wanted more Hulk. I wanted.
Save it for the second part.
I mean, that's the thing is
Part 2.
I loved the idea of Ruffalo and the Hulk having a real problem with each
Ruffalo
other.
tries to bring the Hulk out. I love the Hulk comes out and goes no, and
He's
comes
scared.
back to Ruffalo and Ruffalo goes no.
Oh, we're boned.
He's scared. The Hulk is scared.
That Hulkbuster, Ruffalo and the Hulkbuster was
it's a Ruffalo.
Ruffalo. Really?
So I watched I read that long oral history of Avengers with Joss Whedon and a bunch of the folks, and one of the things I really appreciated and changed the way I watched some of this movie was Whedon says, well, if we had any plot difficulties, we would just put Robert Downey Jr. in the heads-up display to give some linking exposition between one scene and the next. And he says, and the best part about it is Downey is such an amazing actor. You can literally show up at his house, put a black curtain behind him, film him in close-up, and he can do any emotion you want instantly, and it just allows you to link some more shit into your movie.
So that's why Robert Downey Jr. has the Tony Stark mustache and beard all the time now.
Wow.
Isn't that awesome?
Wow.
So also tied to Whedon, they actually used that device from one of his old drafts of Age of Ultron, which it didn't have the same effect. Whedon said so Age of Ultron, you remember Ultron hates Tony Stark because that's his surrogate father, and at the end they're fighting Ultron, and one of the ways they're going to have the fight resolve is Ultron would go after Iron Man, grab Iron Man, and tear his head off, and you'd find out, like in Iron Man 3, he was being remote controlled by Tony Stark. And what was actually inside it was a plan all along to have Bruce Banner in the suit. So when he tore the head off, he'd Hulk out and fight.
Oh my God!
That's a great idea.
Exactly,
But
and
they
they
didn't Hulk
ended up but they didn't end up using it for Age of Ultron. And when you saw Bruce Banner in the Hulkbuster armor, I'm like, they got to do it here,
right?
And they didn't. So I can feel what you mean, Adam, by wanting that Hulk busting out of the Hulkbuster.
I did. Also, for some reason, the one of my all-time favorite Marvel moments is Hulk and Thor post-fight in Ragnarok, where Hulk is like, yeah, but you don't like fire like Hulk like fire. Hulk like real fire.
He had a real personality.
You totally.
And that's that we didn't see the personality come out, except for the fear.
Ragnarok did such a wonderful thing for both Thor and the Hulk. Like Thor as an over-serious doofus who kind of always is on the edge of fucking up real bad.
No, you've stolen her drapes.
It is exceptional, and it plays so well in this movie. And so much of this movie is driven by like half of the plot is driven by Thor, and his journey to get the God Killer Stormwage or whatever the hell the
Stormbreaker
thing is called.
That's a beautiful piece of machinery, and I loved the whole sequence, especially Peter Dinklage as a giant.
So I have my one complaint.
Norm has
my one complaint is that you can't separate Peter Dinklage from his role in Game of Thrones, and when he does the same fantasy,
yes, you can.
Fantasy
if you don't
accent,
watch Game of Thrones.
Yeah, I don't watch Game of Thrones.
It was difficult for a Game of Thrones fan to separate, be taken out of the moment a little bit by basically just seeing his character.
That's really not Peter.
That's kind of on
problem,
you, dude.
is it?
No, I guess it's not.
I think like part of the other part of that sequence that was really neat for me is you see the wake that Thanos leaves behind him. Like you get a hint of that on the spaceship at the beginning. You see it on Titan and the other places that he's been. You see it in the Gamora flashbacks, which we have to talk about in a minute. But the Dinklage world where he just leaves the one guy behind that can help him and kills everybody else because it's the easiest thing to do.
Well, it also establishes some continuity in the science fantasy aspect of it all. Like, what does this gauntlet mean? Well, it was made in the same place Thor's hammer was made.
Right.
And so these are the rules, the world building.
And
that
I appreciated that.
Yeah.
It's a return to the Arthur C. Clarkean, technology so advanced we think it's magic view of the Asgardian civilization, which is good.
Yeah.
I loved Groot. I love the fact that Thor speaks Groot.
Yes,
Yeah,
it's
of course he
elective.
does. Yeah, it was an elective.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, that was great. So Gamora.
Yeah.
It's surprising. Like I think it was a little surprising that the Gamora relationship became the emotional core of the film.
Well, I mean, the Gamora relationship is it's the thing that was missing from the first two Guardians movies in a large part, I thought. I mean, the second one had a Gamora Nebula arc that was really compelling and interesting and good.
But the Gamora Nebula fight, I wanted a sister. That's in the first Guardians, right?
Second.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because that's one of my favorite fight reveal emotional cores in any of the films.
And you see that their bitter relationship being an abusive one from their father, that coming to fulfillment with Thanos. Yeah.
And it makes both Thanos more scary and Gamora a more compelling character, so that when they kill her off midway through the movie, it's much
also,
more effective.
Red Skull shows up.
Amazing.
That was
what
like,
a treat. For
And the
comic
whole
book
audience
fans.
was like, I heard a whole
I
audience
gasped.
go,
Yeah. Of all the
Like they
things
did
you
a Scooby.
expected, of all the things I was like, I thought he died, but no, he got sucked through some sort of vortex in the Tesseract.
I read a piece this weekend that took a counterpoint and said for Marvel to make this movie a total cliffhanger was the most cynical money grab ever. And
It's not.
I could understand that is a reasonable interpretation. But what I felt at the end of it was, wow, they did something new. How, like, number one, they started out with Iron Man, and I love reading Kevin Feige talking about how he worked with Whedon and the Russos and all these different amazing creative talents to figure out how to create a bigger film universe. And they created the largest franchise universe in film that anyone's made in terms of all the different places it goes.
15 billion and counting.
And so much of what they've done is kind of new for franchise, for films that are great, for films with good emotional cores, for films that showcase the individuality of the directors like Taika Waititi and the Russo brothers. So I ended this, and I still hold that they did something new, and that's why they did it. They did it because this is a different way to make a blockbuster.
I would argue that's not a different way because it's also what they did with Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit and Empire Strikes Back.
Empire Strikes Back is what I
but
keep
more
thinking
discreet.
about.
Those are more discreet franchises.
Well, I'm saying that in terms of
Right.
the big event being like a two-parter. You know,
Right.
Harry Potter Part 1,
Sure.
Part 1, Part
So
2.
You're saying this is like when Kiss came on Scooby-Doo.
Well, there,
Yeah, exactly like that.
I read on Twitter, someone said, and I really agree with this analogy, and it's not a judgment on the film, but it really is like wrestling. You know, it's you're watching for the spectacle. There's going to be ups and downs. No one really goes away, but you're just waiting to see who comes up with the belt at the end.
Part of that spectacle that Marvel has always gotten right is the emotional aspect of the spectacle. And you're right, the whole Gamora Thanos centerpiece of Thanos has to give up something he loves, and that's when his daughter finds out that he loves her is as he kills her.
I mean, that was an
Holy
amazing
shitballs.
twist because she's sitting there. She's like, "Well, I'm totally safe now.
And-
You're boned. You lose here." And he's like,
Brolin
"No," and he cries.
completely delivered.
Yeah.
And you
And
know it
that's
to be
the
true because the rules of the universe say it's true.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It couldn't be a fake emotion.
Couldn't be the other way around.
Yeah.
I found that really intense. And frankly, as the film was closing and you see Thanos watching the sunrise, do you know what I heard in my head? I heard Washington's speech from One Last Time. I want to live under a fig tree.
I mean, the
What's the legacy? Planting seeds you'll never see. Yeah.
Exactly.
The cynical cash grab. I would say I would believe if this was a struggling franchise, but they know at this point that people are going to come out for everything they release. Like people want to watch Ant-Man, right? Like,
Speaking of which, I loved the line in the film where someone said, Ruffalo said, wait, there's a Spider-Man and an Ant-Man?
Oh yeah, well, that's another one. That's another one of the hey,
the meta.
Yeah.
And actually going back to Civil War, where Tom Holland goes, that shield doesn't obey any of the laws of physics.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, the number of seeds that were planted through the last 10 or 12 movies to make this movie land is astounding, right? Like there were what seemed like throwaway scenes in a bunch of movies. I mean, honestly, the Gamora Nebula fight didn't have to be in Guardians 2 for Guardians 2 to work.
No.
But it had to be there for this movie to work.
The only thing that offends are people who want completed box sets because they'll never be complete.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm waiting for the
I will
last
say
one.
I had one issue
three.
with the plotting of this movie. I thought that they redounded to the same plot device at 3 separate times, which was, give me the Infinity Stone. No, the whole universe will destroy itself if I do. Give me the Infinity Stone. No, okay, I'm going to hurt someone you love. Okay, here's my Infinity Stone. I was like, really, really? Come on, at this point.
So, maybe, but that's the theme of the movie,
Yeah,
right? The theme of the movie is: would you sacrifice somebody you
What do
love
you
for
sacrifice?
We don't trade lives.
save the universe?
Yeah, we don't trade lives.
And
feel that.
then also Doctor Strange giving it up was part of the plan. He saw 14,605 versions, and guess what? The only one in which they win, he has to give it up.
So
And that was intense. And Benedict Wong is gone somewhere, so he could help out.
he's the new Supreme Sorcerer Supreme for the next movie, probably, right? I'm going to call it a meet cute because that's kind of what it was when Tony Stark and Doctor Strange meet.
That was the best.
It was. I was like, these guys have the same origin, right?
Yeah.
They're exactly the same character. They're egomaniac, super capable assholes who are cut down to size.
They didn't mention their facial hair, thankfully. That would have been too easy. Too easy.
Oh, right, they have the same beard.
You're
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Wow. But yeah, like that. Even that was like that was the part that I was like, surely they're not going to put. And then they just jam them right up against each other for the whole movie.
And actually, I thought Doctor Strange's cameo in Ragnarok was completely delightful.
Oh yeah, that was. You didn't like it?
Oh, yes, the beginning. I was wondering what it was. Yeah. I was like,
You were scrolling.
yes.
You'll.
I love it when Loki's like, yeah, but I'm okay. Boop, and Loki's gone.
I've been falling for 30 minutes. Such a good that movie. So much of that movie lands so well, and I don't drink that whole. Yeah, that's a really fantastic sequence.
Ragnarok is completely. I think the most rewatchable films.
I've watched it at least 4 or 5 times.
Ragnarok is totally rewatchable. Winter Soldier, I can't watch that movie enough times. The original Iron Man, I can't watch that enough times.
I went back and watched all of those before. The Civil War actually watches pretty well, but it gets a little pacey. Then the only
Civil War gets tiring to me.
it's too much punching.
Yeah, but I love the emotion of Black Widow saying, "Are you going to punch your way out of this?" I thought that was awesome.
Oh yeah.
This movie, like every culmination, made rewatching the past movies better.
Have you gone and done it already?
I've done 1 or 2. Yeah.
Of course you have.
So the only thing that I didn't like about this movie at all, and I hesitate to say this because it was so good in Black Panther, but I felt like the Wakanda fight was a little
Space dogs, right?
It reminded me of the battle for Naboo at the end of episode 1.
I also
Not in a good way.
There was, and I'll be thinking about this of all the movies in the world that are not Black Panther movies, but there wasn't enough Shuri.
Yeah.
I wanted more Shuri. I don't know why I had to waste time watching Shuri do something she didn't complete and then not show up for the rest of the movie. I want nothing but to see Shuri use her brain and incredible personality to do awesome shit.
I have good news for you, Adam. There's a Black Panther movie coming.
No,
I'm
so excited.
He's dead. So, yeah.
What?
Yeah.
I don't disagree with you. I thought that the emotional aspects of the Black Panther fight, like the horror of the Wakanda general realizing they're just killing themselves to get through the barrier, those little moments this film delivers in spades to help sink into you the gravity of what's happening.
Well,
It's also a problem that I think directors face when you have characters of vastly different power scales, right? The Russo brothers who did Winter Soldier and Civil War, a lot of that, like the best fight is in Winter Soldier when they're running across the freeway and it's Bucky with a knife fighting Captain America. That great, like, fast-paced action choreography.
All shot in Cleveland.
Like the knife drops, the pickups, the
exactly.
slow-mo.
Cranking up the shutter for that stuff. That's tough to do when you're asking them to have, them fight 1,000 space dogs.
Well, but they escalate well. I mean, the only problem was
Captain America, who's arguably one of the more human of. I love watching him with his new shields from new vibranium shields.
But they don't. They did a good job of escalating. Like if they had started that fight with Hulk and Thor there, it would have been a really tedious action sequence akin to any of the bad ones in Ultron, right? But without those two characters, you have essentially humans facing this supernatural threat, and then it escalates, and all of a sudden Thor warps in from the Bifrost or whatever. And
actually, also, I loved Thanos hurling around Hulk. That was intense. And like, what can knock? I know Hulk can't be killed, but wow, you can knock him out. It turns out. And I was reading that oral history of Avengers, and Whedon was talking about how if I remember correctly, he was talking. It was tough to sell the studio on the ragdoll Loki bit because they thought it was trivializing of the character. And John Knoll, I think, was talked about in another interview I read a couple of years ago how difficult that scene was to get correct. To make it feel it had the right amount of weight and it didn't go too much into cartoon
and yet,
land.
One of the biggest applauses.
It landed better than anything else in that movie. The theater I was in. Yeah.
Puny God.
That and the Thor. I mean, the callback to that. This is again seeds. These seeds are planted for years. Yeah. The callback to that in Thor when Loki starts cheering when Thor gets the ragdoll done to him.
Do you think that the Russos? Do you think that when they turned this in, they were like?
No, they have one more left, right?
I know, but at least they get to go to Hawaii or something for like a month, right?
Promo tour. Unending.
I feel like the having the big challenge with this movie is having of all of these movies is having the gods, the Thors and the Hulks and all of those guys fighting alongside Black Widow and Hawkeye and Ant-Man and Captain America even.
Yeah.
And it worked in a way that I didn't expect to be. Like if you look at Ultron, it failed because it wasn't emotionally resonant. There was nothing. At no point did I think, oh, this is the bad thing that happened at the end of the Ultron is a bunch of faceless people died and we never saw it, and it caused a bunch of strife that went forward in the Marvel universe. To me, this felt like the dark middle chapter that we needed Ultron to be in an Avengers trilogy.
Yeah.
And it didn't land for that, but it did here.
I'll disagree and say that what Ultron and the first Avengers had that this film didn't have, and that Civil War didn't have, was like it being the stakes being in a real environment. In Avengers, it was in New York. People were running away. They were saving people. In Ultron, they were trying to save an entire city. When you have the airport fight in Civil War and here in an empty Wakandan field, different stakes there.
I felt the stakes. I felt the stakes for the universe each time. I was there. There is something this film had that no previous Marvel movie has had, which was that I went and saw it in a little bit of costume.
Oh, what'd you wear?
I wore Indy Magnoli, who's one of the longest time contributors on the RPF, and he has a cosplay website where he sells cosplay clothes called Magnoli Clothiers, and he sells fantastic stuff. He makes. You remember the blue jacket Cap wears in?
Oh yeah,
Civil War.
Yeah, his
Winter Soldier.
Winter Soldier. That casual blue jacket, but it's like interesting.
When he goes to Smithsonian,
like a motorcycle jacket.
Yep.
Yeah. Indy Magnoli makes one of those, and it's fantastic. It's really beautifully cut, and it's sized correctly. And I own one, and it's great. So I wore that, and I recently bought a beautiful. As I've said before, ordering stuff online is often an exercise in degrees of disappointment. I bought a pair of Captain America gloves. From a seller on Etsy who goes by the name Like Linda, and they are a pair of the finest piece of cosplay manufacture I have enjoyed in my time. They're just
you wore the gloves.
I wore the gloves and the jacket. It was very subtle, very subtle.
You looked at a young fan, and you.
It's a casual. It's called a casual cosplay.
It's a casual cosplay, and I enjoyed every minute of it.
I have to say when all the characters were killed at the end of the film, the way they kind of created the power structure so that you see where people end up based on how they at what time period they died in that sequence is what I felt like.
Oh.
So, Drax gets dusted and Groot goes after him and you're thinking, oh, at least each of these Drax is great, but at least they didn't take Groot.
Right.
And then Groot goes, and then Strange
Oh
goes.
yeah, they played it onto the emotional.
Like they were pulling strings at a real high
They
level.
didn't need
with
the
a high
logic. In the comics, it's a snap of finger and then everyone's gone. Here, for the cinematic purposes, they let it linger.
They let you
and,
see each
and
one.
they let Peter Parker cry out to Tony Stark.
And because I hadn't seen any of the trailers, I had no idea that people were going to die in this movie. I kept on thinking, how are they going to get out of this? Well, wait, they got to really, there's got a lot of work to do. And then the credits came up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanos will return.
That was
Brolin, I'm so blown away by Brolin's performance in it. This movie, to me, like the most important aspect of getting it over the top so that you were really involved emotionally was that performance. And I'm so happy they got
And I
someone so
know
good.
you haven't seen Justice League, but that is a contrast. The villain in Justice League, also a CG character.
Who was the villain in Justice League?
Steppenwolf?
Exactly, Steppenwolf.
Oh, right.
Yeah, contrasted with just both in the performance, the capture, the rendering. This is on levels of Golem, and I think it's going to be a big milestone in performance capture characters.
It's time. Look, I will say, if Oscar time comes around and Brolin gets an award and Andy Serkis does not, I will be enraged because Andy has been the absolute the Shackleton, the Peary, the Amundsen of this zone of acting performance. But I agree with you.
What did Serkis do this year?
And War for Planet of the Apes is the
was
last
last year.
one. Yeah, no, I know. I'm not.
Oh, okay.
I'm just saying, if Brolin wins and Andy Serkis isn't somewhere in the world already having gotten a big award for that would be sad to me. That would be an injustice. But the Academy needs to wake up to the idea that there are new ways that performance can be celebrated, because this is a brand new field.
I mean, I have to imagine that this is an incredibly difficult thing to do, to sit in a small room with a bunch of dots on your face, looking at a camera that's 3 feet away from you.
Your daughter just died. Go.
Yeah.
Do you want pastrami?
Exactly. It's I don't know. It's a stupendous film. It was really good.
What do you think? I'm curious what Josh Brolin wears for the mocap sessions. Is he wearing Thanos armor, or is he in like a onesie?
Well, Norm pointed this out earlier, but like as the glove got more powerful, Thanos was wearing less and less clothing the whole way through the
interesting.
movie.
It's so
you know,
I can't wait to see more detailed shots of the filming gauntlet. I've not been a fan up till now, but now I'm a fan of that
You're
gauntlet.
ready to go.
There's a really good one for $100. That's
Is it wearable?
totally wearable, large size, has puppeted fingers,
Show me.
and you can even paint it up with
What?
a little bit of rub and buff, and it'll look really good.
Yeah, I will. Will it glow? Will it glow each time I pluck a jewel out of someone's forehead?
No magnets.
No magnets. I will put magnets on that.
Yeah.
You need Norm to cosplay as Vision, and
That's weirdly accurate.
yeah.
All right. On that note,
That was our spoiler cast.
yes,
We are.
So you
we
guys
look
didn't like
forward
the
to
movie at
hearing
all?
your thoughts.
That's what you're saying.
we'll
that?
see you
It's
next
underwhelming.
year for part 2.
Yeah, that was my first reaction. Is holy crap! I gotta wait until next May.
That's not so bad.
I mean, Empire to Jedi was what, 3-4 years?
3 years.
3 years.
Yeah. Lord of the Rings were only a year between.
I was not old enough to see Empire in theaters. I was like 6 when it came out, and I saw them in the wrong order. I saw Star Wars and then Jedi and then Empire. Did this land? You I'm sure saw them in theaters.
Yeah.
Did this land the same way for you as a human?
I remember being blown away by Empire, and that year. What year did the Muppet movie came out? Muppet movie is 1980.
79. I saw it in theaters
79.
when my sister was born.
Okay, so Muppet movie is the very first movie I ever saw twice.
Okay.
Empire Strikes Back was the second one.
Okay.
And I think I ended up seeing it several more times. But yeah, no, it was all anybody talked about. But back then, well, actually, 1979, 1980, if you look at the big summer blockbusters, every single one of them is a masterpiece at this point. Like,
yeah.
important in the film canon from
Like Close Encounters
1978 all the way through like 1985. You had just this incredible string every single year. It's hard for me to go back to my at that point 13-year-old brain and reconstitute the excitement.
You're aware of different stuff now than you are then.
Yeah, it's a totally different culture.
But yeah, I can't even, like, this is the first time I've had a chance to have that feeling, right, in a theater.
Right.
and it was tainted by knowing the meta that people have contracts and that people are on.
I
for
haven't
4
been paying attention to
movies
any
and-
of that
yeah,
contractual discussion,
exactly.
so I'm psyched.
Very cool. Okay.
Okay.
See you all next week. Hey, Adam, you have T-shirts for sale for a couple of weeks, right?
I do have T-shirts for sale till early May. Savage Industries T-shirts. Get yours now at cottonbureau.com. Adam Savage. Search for Adam Savage.
Yeah.
These are cotton. These are the best shirts.
I'm wearing one
They
too. It's
feel
not Savage
really,
Industries, but they're
they
very
feel
soft.
really soft. They're fantastic.
They
And
wear well.
They wear well. They're sized a little small. Is that correct?
I usually wear a large. Sometimes I buy a large and extra large on this one.
I wear a straight medium, and I'm not wearing this just because I'm a douchebag. I'm wearing it because I also really like this shirt, and I'm a douchebag.
I almost
To
exclusively
the
wear
band's
Cotton Bureau shirts
concert.
at this point.
Don't you know the band's playing right now? All right. We'll see you next week.
See you
We'll
guys.
see you next week. Bye guys.
Bye.